Hola, mis amigos, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo es Tío Jojo y Woman Chica. G'day, me absolute rip-roaring Born to Beauty legend mob out there. Thank you very much for following all the stuff that we talk about in building and all things carpentry. I just want to say a really big I'm not psycho for how much I love my timbers. I've been called, yeah, I do agree. I've been called many things with my obsession with timber, and it's amazing how many people turn a blind eye to the different types of timbers that we have in Australia. At the moment, I'm reclaiming a really big, nice old piece of Oregon. Now, that old piece of Oregon got pulled out of a house. The timber itself, if you look at the grain and the timber itself, it's beautiful and old, and the personality of it is fantastic. I can use that for many different structural bits and pieces or some beautiful furniture. Also here I've got some old fence posts. Here is an Australian red gum, usually a Murray River red gum. Beautiful timber, super dense, but it wasn't regulated years ago when it was cut down. Now it is. It's very well regulated. Beautiful timber, very good to use. Here we've got some spotted gum. Again, a fence post. Not regulated many years ago. Nowadays, very well regulated. Australia's regulations on cutting down timber and forestry and reclaiming timber and the sustainable manufacture or milling of timber or arboring timber, cutting it down and then milling it up, is some of the world's best systems in a sustainable forestry system or sustainable managed bushland throughout the world. It's very impressive. What I've also got here are two pieces of timber off the shelf. This one here is an Aussie hardwood, straight off the shelf. Aussie hardwood, 60, 70-year-old hardwood. Very good to work with. And it's the same price as this piece here. This piece here is an actual piece of Amazon rainforest timber, caribou. Now this caribou and this hardwood are basically the same cost off the shelf. This tree though happens to be, I would say, hundreds of years old. The density of it, the grain of it, everything else is unparalleled to timbers that I've seen in Australia for many, many years, unless I've reclaimed it. This is a really nice solid piece of timber, beautifully well shaped, hasn't moved. I've actually had it hanging in my room in my factory for a little while, just to look at the way that it's moved and shaped and all of that kind of stuff, and did some tests on it for its hardness and everything. Amazing timber, but hundreds of years old and non-regulated. I've just had a mate come over from South America. He's also a carpenter. He was talking to me about the amount of trees that he saw that were felled, cut down, and that were laid across the Amazon River and being floated down to be loaded onto boats to be transported to other places for milling and all of that kind of stuff. He said that the damage that was happening to the rainforest was on massive scales. I've also talked to the tree doctor. I don't know if you know of Dr. Page. He's up in Cairns in Queensland, an amazing man. I've done a couple of interviews with him before. Dr. Page is sourced from many different people from around the world, Japan, China, just to name a few, but he goes into different places around the world. Two places in particular, Papua New Guinea and Indonesia, and he helps the locals replant trees that have been cut down. There's massive logging companies that go over and they desecrate huge parts of forest. They cut it all down and then they don't give any of the money or any of the resources back to the locals. The locals are left with land that nothing will grow on and all of the animals or wildlife disappear. So the vegetation doesn't even grow, because what ends up happening is the trees get cut down, the protection of that land, then when the water falls, it floods and washes all away the topsoil. All that topsoil is the good nutrition soil, so the locals can't even grow their crops or anything else. Not to mention the wildlife running away, so they're not even able to do hunting and gathering either. So when we buy registered timber, when we buy timber in Australia that's grown in Australia and milled in Australia, we're backing up the tree farmers, we're backing up the loggers, we're backing up the arborists, we're backing up good, well certified systems that have been tried and tested in Australia. They also replant those trees in those areas as well. We're going to do a little bit of a series. We're going to look at how timber grows, how we mill it, all of that kind of stuff, the different strengths of timber, how timber gets its strength, but we're also going to go into the bush and have a look at the importance of the bush as well. So, mis amigos, my friends, thank you very much for watching. Any questions or queries about timber and where we get our timber from and certifying different types of timber, please flick it over to me. I'll answer it for you best I can whenever I can. Thanks for watching, and like always, stay unreal banana peel. I'll see you in the soup.